Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to the weekly update of my 2020 forecast. Today, I'm going to not only show the updates to the model, but also to my presidential forecast and the Senate map as well. Before I get any further, the description has some useful links, and remember, rating the video does help, as do comments. So, the model. There are two maps in this section. As at the start of every month, I'm going to show you what I'm going to call the official model, which you're looking at now, and the polls-only version of it. The difference is the official model includes fundamentals such as an economic factor, the influence of the national average, and states' history and partisanship. As we get closer to election day, the fundamentals will start to be reduced in effect on the model, as polling will start to capture that. The official model, as of right now, has Trump winning. However, Pennsylvania is especially close. This is consistent with past weeks and is consistent with the model showing a close election for the past few months. I tend to agree the election will be close and doubt it will be an easy win for either Trump or whoever the Democratic nominee eventually is. The states competitive in 2016 look to be competitive again, but Delaware looks to be interestingly close. Again, Joe Biden is a caveat to this mid-Atlantic state being competitive. If he is the nominee, it will be a blowout win for him, but if he is absent on the ballot, the state could be swinging towards the GOP. The other option is this is erroneous statistical noise. Until we get more good opinion polling on potential candidates from Delaware, we won't know. Maine is also shaping up as one of the new swing states, which is a good thing. People complain about how the election is focused on swing states, yet complain when a new one pops up, or cheer it based off of which party the new swing state had consistently voted for. I, for one, consider more swing states good, as it means polarization may be on the decline and that elections will more closely follow the national environment, meaning less complaints against the Electoral College, which seem to be only relevant and more prevalent in highly polarized elections and eras. Moving on to the polling only section, this map shows a much different picture. It shows a map of what one would expect from a mediocre incumbent who is blamed for a major recession and is a complete nincompoop. Now, Trump may be a controversial figure, but his only truly ill-advised policies are the wall and tariffs. The rest is fairly standard for the GOP. And the economy is relatively good, as we'll see in just a second. This map demonstrates his lukewarm approval figures and is higher than should be expected disapproval numbers. Commonly, a president outperforms their economic approval rating by about 10%. However, Donald Trump is trudging behind those by as close to 25 or 30%. A CNN poll from the middle of May found about 7 in 10 Americans thought Trump was handling the economy well. It was about 67, 68, 69%. They also found that only about 4 in 10 Americans approve of his presidency overall. It was a little bit higher than that. It was about 42, 44%. This suggests Trump has room to expand if he drops unpopular policies and focuses on the middle of the electorate. These numbers indicate traditional Republican ground, not the polling numbers, but the numbers found in my polls only section of the model, indicate traditional Republican ground is vulnerable. However, it must be taken with a grain of salt. Polling is not available for every state and don't line up perfectly with the other numbers in the polling only section and the polling that we do have. Moving on to my forecast, which is based on my confidence the state will go to one candidate or party, it shows Donald Trump winning. However, I have downgraded Pennsylvania to tilt, meaning I think it is a true toss-up, but I would expect Trump to win it slightly more than I expect the Democratic nominee to win it. So out of 100 elections, I would expect Trump to win it 51 or 52 times out of the 100. I've also downgraded Delaware to likely, meaning I'm still confident the Democratic nominee will carry the state, but there is an opportunity for the GOP if they feel like it. Every other state rating remains the same, as I haven't seen any polling to justify altering the rating. Delaware's change mostly comes from Trump's approval rating in the state being in the low 40s to even the mid 40s, and his approval rating not going above 55% too much. Now, moving on to the Senate races. Other than Maine, I don't have any state going in an opposite direction from the presidential election. Now, again, this is based off of my confidence of that party or candidate's victory. I feel Suzanne Collins is strong enough in Maine to maintain a hold on her seat. Doug Jones is another story altogether. He may be popular, however, Alabama is an extremely Republican state, and he isn't a Joe Manchin who can keep the Democratic Party identification, but reflect the state overall. He won his race against a very weak candidate who suffered from a major scandal. If Roy Moore is the nominee in that race, I will alter the rating of the state. But if not, I might even consider it safe GOP. Michigan is another race to watch if John James runs. Colorado is a Democratic pickup in the making with Cory Gardner in a weak position. Arizona could be interesting if the Democrats nominate a strong challenger for Martha McSally. I don't expect Virginia's Mark Warner to be unseated, but it is certainly possible if the presidential election is competitive in Old Dominion. In Texas, with Beto O'Rourke running for president and Cornyn being relatively popular, and certainly not underwater like Ted Cruz, this race is not going to be competitive, even if the presidential race is. Georgia is in a similar situation with Stacey Abrams sitting the Senate race out against David Perdue. In other news, Howard Schultz has been relatively quiet. He could be preparing for an official campaign launch or settling down now that he has his publicity for his book tour. Mark Cuban might also be considering an independent run, which would be interesting, but I doubt he would do so. Independent candidates face an increasingly uphill battle to gain traction these days since they are expected to either lose or play spoiler, neither of which most voters would actively vote for. Anyway, I want to thank all y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. Take it easy. Bye.